And I heard in a book that their battle cry was like a pack of wolves.
Welcome to Curious World History. My name is Colleen.
And my name is Albert.
Really, Albert? Okay. Mm-hmm. Well, this is not our first episode. We've done one before this, right?
Welcome to episode 2.
Welcome to episode 2. And what is the topic of today's episode?
The Battle of Gettysburg.
So let me ask you a question first. Where is Gettysburg?
It's in Pennsylvania.
It's in Pennsylvania. Have you ever been there?
No.
Neither have I, but you know what? Nana's been there, and she's talked about it. She said it's really cool. She went there with Josh. So the Battle of Gettysburg happened. Let's set this up a little bit, because if someone doesn't know about this battle, they may not understand what war it was part of. So can you tell us about what war it was part of?
It was part of the Civil War.
The Civil War? The American Civil War?
Yeah.
Did you know there have been other civil wars? So this was the American one, but there are civil wars that are happening. Do you know what a civil war is?
It's when, the same country splits into two sides.
Yes, it's when the country is essentially fighting itself. Mm-hmm. And this Civil War, which is the American Civil War, happened back in the, what time
1800s.
Period? In the 1800s. Do you know what it was about?
Slavery.
Slavery, that's right. So there was the North and the South, and which side wanted to expand slavery and which side wanted to end slavery?
So the South wanted slavery and the North did not want slavery.
That's right. So that's sort of a beginning of, that sets the tone for what's going on, is the country has a division in terms of its thoughts, right? Some people believe one thing and the other people believe something else. Now, do you know whose election to being president began the events that would become the Civil War?
Abraham Lincoln.
Abraham Lincoln, that's right. Do you know what Abraham Lincoln campaigned on? Do you know what he said he was going to do?
To end slavery.
Well, he said he was going to contain it. So this was something that was interesting to me as I was doing my research. I always thought that he was campaigning to end slavery, but it turned out he didn't think that he had the power to end slavery, because it was decided by the individual states, but what he wanted to do was contain it. So stop the expansion of it. Keep it in the states where it is, because he didn't feel like he had control. At least this is according to what I read. But that he would stop it from going into other states. And the southern states wanted to expand it. They wanted to see more slavery occurring. So he gets elected, and all of a sudden, things start going in a different direction. Do you know what happened after he got elected? This is before the war starts.
No.
So what started to happen is some of the southern states decided to secede the Union. Do you know what it means to secede?
No.
They left. They said, we're going to start our own country. So they did. And they formed the Confederate States of America, and they created their own constitution. So that is sort of the beginning, right? It starts with the division of thoughts. So there are two different strong opinions. And what's your opinion about slavery?
It's not good.
It's not good at all. As a matter of fact, I think it's one of the most cruel things that you can do, because you're essentially almost saying that somebody is not a full human, that you should be able to make decisions about what happens to them and their families and their bodies. And that's just absolutely wrong. It's totally inhumane.
And when you're not a part of their family.
That's right. Yeah, it was just horrible. They split up families. It was just an awful, awful thing. So now we've got all of this setting up to the beginning of the Civil War, which started in April of 1861. Mm-hmm. So now let's fast forward a little bit, because you and I both found that there was so much information about the Civil War. Right, you've got a ton of notes, and you cut out a lot of stuff, right? Mm-hmm. So did I, because I thought, well, we could go through and talk about a bunch of the battles, but the fact is there were many, many, many battles. But this particular battle was seen as a turning point. The Battle of Gettysburg began when?
July.
In July of 1863, right? So the war starts in April of 1861. July of 1863, the Battle of Gettysburg begins. And the battle was an effort to invade the North by the Southern general. Do you know who the Southern general was?
Robert E. Lee.
Robert E. Lee, that's right. And he decided he was hoping he could bring up the morale of his troops because they had been losing some battles.
Yeah.
So tell me a little bit about what you learned about this battle.
So, it was like 3 days long.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
And I'm pretty sure the North had the high ground.
They did. I think so too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So what does that mean, the high ground?
So they were like on a hill.
Yeah, on a hill. Got it. Okay. And
it happened in like, the town around Gettysburg.
That's right. So this wasn't just a battle that was occurring with soldiers involved, right?
Mm-hmm.
The soldiers, the Southern soldiers in particular, but I'm sure some of the Northern soldiers were doing this as well. They came in and kind of invaded the town. They took over buildings, and they did they take like belongings from people and stuff like that? Did you read about that?
No.
So they were insisting, they demanded that people give them supplies. Mm-hmm. So among the supplies were things like flour, right, for cooking, whiskey, medical supplies, meat. Yeah. So I would say eggs might have fallen into that. I would imagine, right? And money. Mm-hmm. Among other things. So they
were like robbing.
They were essentially robbing people, right? And as I understand it, they were telling those people, like, go hide someplace. Mm-hmm. You know? But so anyways, what happens next?
So then the war happened?
So the actual battle itself, the fighting? Mm-hmm. Okay. And what did you learn about the battle itself?
So it was 3 days long.
Yeah.
And I can talk about like the days.
Please.
So day 1, the fighting started on just west of the town.
Okay.
And the Confederates pushed Union troops back through Gettysburg to high ground called Cemetery Hill.
Oh, yeah, Cemetery Hill. Yes. That's interesting that it was named Cemetery Hill to me because of what happens in this battle. Okay, and then what happens?
Day 2, Lee attacked both sides of the Union line.
Okay.
The Union defended places like Little Round Top, Devil's Den, and the wheat field. The Union held their ground even after heavy losses.
They did? Okay.
Yeah. And day 3, Lee launched a bold attack called Pickett's Charge.
I read about this.
Thousands of Confederate soldiers ran across the open field to try to break the center of the Union line.
So it was a full frontal attack is what I read.
And I heard in a book that their battle cry was like a pack of wolves.
Really? Oh, that's terrifying. Mm-hmm. So the Southern soldiers, and I read that there were 12,000 Southern soldiers who went running. They went rushing through Pickett's Charge, and they went across an open field. I feel like that's a really important thing. Why is an open field an important part of this? Do you know? So if they don't have the high ground, if the North has the high ground and the Southern soldiers,
shoot,
that's right. Yeah, they become easy targets, right?
And it failed badly. Many were killed or captured. It was a disaster for the Confederacy.
So do you know how many soldiers were killed in that one battle?
51,000.
Well,
50 to 51.
No, in the Pickett's Charge alone.
No.
In an hour, they lost 5,000 soldiers. Can you believe that? In 1 hour, 5,000 soldiers died. And I want you to know something, too, that I read. Not only were these soldiers, like you would think they would be big, strong adult men, many of them were very young.
Yeah.
As a matter of... Yeah, many of them were in their teens. That's right. So that's just amazing to me because how old are you?
11.
You're 11. Oh, Midnight wanted to be part of this. That's our kitty, Midnight.
He's 8.
That's true. So he's maybe a full-grown cat. But if you think about it, some of these soldiers were not much older than you are today. So we have Pickett's Charge, and it's a terrible situation, right? So I read a soldier's account of this. So a Yankee soldier was a prisoner, just to keep this in mind. He was over on the southern side, and a Southern soldier is struck by a bullet. And the Southern soldier said, "I felt as if as if lightning had struck me. My gun fell, and I hobbled down the hill, reaching the timber in the rear. I saw a Yankee sergeant running out in the same direction, being inside our line." So that was the prisoner. "I called for him to help. Coming up, he said, 'Put your arm around my neck and throw all your weight on me. Don't be afraid of me. Hurry up. This is a dangerous place.' The balls were striking the trees like hail around us. And as we went back, he said, 'If you and I had this matter to settle, we would soon settle it, wouldn't we?' I replied that he was a prisoner and I a wounded man, so I felt we could to terms pretty quick." So I think what they meant by that was, here these men were so desperate. One was a prisoner of war and the other one had just been injured. And if it was up to them to end this war or this battle, they would do it quickly. They would want to stop, right? So I'm going to read one other thing. There was an account from a local woman, a woman who just lived in town in Gettysburg. Her name was Kate Bushman. And she and her brother-in-law gathered buckets of water and brought them to where the soldiers were passing, the Union soldiers, the Northern soldiers. And she said, "One old gentleman officer rode up to me and reached out his hands, as I thought, for a drink, which I handed him. He said, 'No, madam, I want to shake your hand. God bless you for what you are doing.' I then wished him Godspeed as he rode off. Some poor fellows would say, 'Lady, please give me a drink. Maybe it is the last one I will ever get.' Others would say, 'Lady, please give me a little in my canteen. Maybe some poor wounded soldier will want to drink, thinking of others, perhaps going to their own death. Oh, how my heart ached for them.'" So could you imagine that, being someone who was just living their life in their town and suddenly this terrible battle is about to occur and she's watching these soldiers go to their deaths? So let's speak of that. I mean, I think that's the next piece. In the Battle of Gettysburg, that 3-day battle, how many soldiers died?
51,000.
Yeah, so I read anywhere
Around
between 50 to 51,000 were killed. And did you read how many were injured? Because that varied as well.
No, I did not read that.
I read somewhere between 20 and 33,000 soldiers were injured. So, and they said nearly every building in town was turned into a hospital after that, right? They were just trying to find places they could treat these men. It was the bloodiest battle in the war. And I wanted to give you a comparison. Do you know the Vietnam War? So the whole Vietnam War, which took years, 58,220 U.S. service members died in the Vietnam War.
Multiple years?
Multiple years. And just in 3 days.
51,000.
That's right.
And there was 165,000 people, I'm pretty sure.
So what I read was that between, in the whole Civil War, do you know how many died?
A million?
That's a good guess, and you're not terribly far off. But between 620 and 750,000 soldiers, U.S. soldiers, died in the U.S. Civil War. It was the deadliest war for American soldiers. More U.S. servicemen were killed in the U.S. Civil War than in World War I and World War II combined. Just gives you a sense. So then the last thing that I could think of, is there anything else about this that you wanted to talk about before we get into the Gettysburg Address?
Oh, yeah. So 11 southern states decided to leave the United States.
That's right. That's what started this, right? The succession of those southern states. There were 11 of them, you're right.
And, so after you talk about the
Gettysburg Address? Okay.
Should we do with the outcome after that?
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah.
They decided to commemorate the field, to commemorate the battle, and to dedicate the field to all of those soldiers. So they turned it into a cemetery, a new soldiers' national cemetery there at Gettysburg. So in November of 1863, they had this event there. And there were a number of people who gave speeches, but one speech was more famous than others. Do you know whose speech it was?
Abraham Lincoln.
Abraham Lincoln's speech. And do you know how long his Gettysburg Address was?
2 minutes.
2 minutes. That is one of the most famous speeches in American history. I would say that one, and maybe the other one we were thinking of was Martin Luther King Jr.'s speech, I Have a Dream speech.
Which we think it was an hour.
No, that was only 17 minutes, believe it or not. He planned for 4 minutes, and he spoke for 17. He was a truly skilled orator. But Abraham Lincoln had this 2-minute speech, which I thought was so powerful, so I'm going to read it here. He said, 77 years ago, our fathers brought forth upon this continent a new nation, conceived in liberty and dedicated to the proposition that all men are created equal. Now we are engaged in a great civil war, testing whether that nation or any nation so conceived and so dedicated can long endure. We are met on a great battlefield of that war. We have come to dedicate a portion of that field as a final resting place for those who here gave their lives that that nation might live. It is altogether fitting and proper that we should do this. But in a larger sense, we cannot dedicate, we cannot consecrate, we cannot hallow this ground. The brave men, living and dead, who struggled here have consecrated it far above our poor power to add or detract. The world will little note, no longer remember what we say here, but it can never forget what they did here. It is for us the living, rather, to be dedicated here to the unfinished work which they who fought here have thus far so nobly advanced. It is rather for us to be here dedicated to the great task remaining before us, that from these honored dead we take increasing devotion to that cause for which they gave the last full measure of devotion. That we here highly resolve that these dead shall not have died in vain, that this nation under God shall have a new birth of freedom, and that government of the people, by the people, for the people, shall not perish from this earth. Pretty special, right? Mm-hmm. I thought it was a really great speech.
Yeah.
So what would you like to end with here?
So the outcome.
The outcome.
So the Union won the battle and the war.
Yeah.
And Lee had retreated back to the south.
That's right.
And never invaded the north again. Yeah. And it was the bloodiest battle of the entire war.
That's right. This was the bloodiest battle of the war, and it was the bloodiest war for U.S. soldiers of all time. Mm-hmm. And in the end, the country did eventually come back together.
Yeah.
But it still took a lot more fighting after this war, and a lot more people died. And eventually, once the country was reunited, of course, Abraham Lincoln was also, what happened to him?
He got assassinated.
He was assassinated, that's right.
We should do an episode about that.
That would be a really interesting one. But I think we should go visit D.C. first and see maybe where he was assassinated. So what did we learn from this? We learned that it was the bloodiest battle. We learned that it was the bloodiest war. We learned that slavery
is not good.
It's not good. That's putting it mildly. It's awful, right?
But we didn't learn that. We knew.
We knew that. That's right. We knew that in our hearts, didn't we? Yeah. Anything else you'd like to say before we end this episode?
No.
Thanks for doing this with me.
You're welcome. This is Curious World History.